The heavy oak doors of the courtroom creaked open as Aaron Carter stepped inside. The atmosphere was thick with judgment, the weight of the law pressing against him. He wasn't just another defendant, he was a man accused of murder, facing life in prison. The audience whispered as he took his seat. Most saw him as a lost cause, an arrogant fool who had chosen to defend himself instead of hiring an attorney. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Richard Dunham, had built what seemed to be an airtight case: a witness who placed Aaron at the scene, forensic evidence linking him to the crime, and a clear motive. Judge Matthew Calloway, a stern yet respected figure, peered over his glasses at the young man before him. He had presided over hundreds of cases, but something about this one unsettled him. There was something familiar about Aaron, though he couldn't quite place it. "The court is now in session," the bailiff announced. "Mr. Carter," Judge Calloway began, "you understand the charges against you?" "Yes, Your Honor," Aaron replied, his voice unwavering. "And I intend to prove my innocence beyond a reasonable doubt." Dunham smirked. "Bravery won't save you, Mr. Carter. The facts will." Aaron met his gaze. "That's exactly what I'm counting on." The prosecution's case, Dunham wasted no time. He called his first witness, an elderly man named William Thompson, who had claimed to see Aaron fleeing the scene of the crime. "Mr. Thompson," Dunham began, "please describe what you saw on the night of March 14th. Thompson straightened in his seat. "I was walking my dog near the corner of 7th and Pine. That's when I saw him running out of the building. He looked panicked, like he had done something terrible." Dunham turned to the jury. "No further questions." Aaron stood. "Mr. Thompson, how well can you see without your glasses?" Thompson hesitated. "Well, I need them for reading, but are you wearing them now?" Aaron interrupted. "No, I left them at home," Thompson admitted. Aaron approached the witness stand. "So, on the night in question, in dim lighting, without your glasses, you are absolutely certain it was me?" Thompson's voice wavered. "I think it was." Aaron walked to the jury. "Ladies and gentlemen, I think is not I am certain. His testimony is unreliable." Judge Calloway gave Dunham a sharp look. The prosecution's first witness was already cracking. The forensic evidence Dunham called Detective Harris, who had analyzed the crime scene. "Detective, did you find the defendant's fingerprints on the victim's wallet?" "Yes, sir," Dunham nodded. "And that places him at the scene, doesn't it?" "Yes." Aaron stood again, pacing like a seasoned lawyer. "Detective Harris, you collected my fingerprints from a water bottle after my arrest, correct?" Harris nodded. "And you compared them only to the partial print found on the wallet?" "Yes." Aaron stopped. "Did you compare it to any other suspects?" Harris hesitated. "No." Aaron turned to the jury. "Fingerprint analysis requires comparison. The fact that mine was found doesn't mean I was the last person to touch the wallet. It simply means I did at some point. But without other comparisons, the police assumed I was guilty." Dunham shifted uncomfortably. The cracks in his case were growing. "The motive and the truth. The prosecution argues that I had a motive," Aaron continued, "that I had a dispute with the victim. But where is the proof?" Dunham slammed his hands on the table. "You owed the victim money. He was threatening you." Aaron smiled. "So you agree he was involved in threatening people? Interesting. But let's talk about who actually had a motive." He pulled out a bank statement. "The victim was laundering money for an unknown third party. There's a transfer here, $50,000 on the night of the murder, but I never received a dime." The courtroom was silent. Dunham's face paled. "Where did you get that?" Aaron held up another document. "Court subpoena. The real killer isn't on trial. I am. The judge's realization, Judge." Calloway's hands trembled slightly as he examined the document. The way Aaron spoke, his sharp mind, it suddenly hit him. 15 years ago, a youth legal program, a bright kid who had shown remarkable potential in law, a kid who had once looked up to him. "Aaron Carter," the judge whispered under his breath. Aaron met his gaze, and in that moment, both men knew. Judge Calloway took a deep breath and faced the jury. "Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard the arguments. The prosecution's case is built on assumptions, unreliable witnesses, and incomplete evidence. The defense has exposed serious flaws. It is not enough to suspect someone is guilty. You must know beyond a reasonable doubt." The jury deliberated for less than an hour. When they returned, the foreman stood. "We find the defendant not guilty." The final remark. The courtroom erupted. Aaron closed his eyes, exhaling. He had done it. As he gathered his papers, Judge Calloway spoke. "Mr. Carter?" Aaron turned. The judge's eyes held something more than pride, regret, respect, admiration. The law needs people like you. Never stop challenging the system. Aaron nodded. Justice isn't about who wins, Your Honor. It's about who's right. And as he walked out, he knew one thing. The battle for truth would never end.